Big Finish last year announced that there would be a new spin-off series set on Kaldor featuring the beloved 8th Doctor companion, Liv Chenka. But this wasn't the first spin-off to take place on Kaldor. 18 years ago, a studio called Magic Bullet Productions made a spin-off called Kaldor City, which featured characters from the 4th Doctor book Corpse Marker by Chris Butcher. It starred Paul Darrow as the lead and had Russell Hunter reprise his role of Ivanov from the Robots of Death. Now, let's dive deep into the mind-boggling world of Kaldor City. The creation of Kaldor City came from Alan Stevens wanting to do something like the film Yojimbo. Around the time he was formulating his idea, BBC Books released Corpse Marker, written by Chris Butcher, which was a sequel to the 1977 Doctor Who story, The Robots of Death. Alan contacted Chris to see if he wanted to do a spin-off set on Kaldor, which used his characters. Chris liked Alan's ideas, and one thing led to another, and Alan was allowed to create a spin-off. Alan Stevens needed to find a company to produce the Kaldor City series. He brought the idea to BBV, but they showed little interest. He also went to Big Finish, but in the end, he made his own production company to produce the spin-off. Through his connections on the previous productions he had worked on, he had gathered some actors for the main cast and a sound designer. Most actors in the cast had previously worked on Doctor Who. Philip Maddock, who played the War Chief in the War Games, Peter Miles, who played Nider in Genesis of the Daleks, and Nicholas Courtney, who played the Brigadier, just to name a few. Alan had also managed to get Russell Hunter to reprise his role of Ivanov. Joining the cast as the lead was Paul Darrow, who had previously worked on Time Lash, playing the role of Tecker, but we'll get to him later. I wasn't expecting much from this series. I thought it would be on par with some of the atrocities BBV has produced in the past. But I was gladly mistaken. At first, I didn't like the characters too much, especially the main character, Iago. But as I listened to more, the characters started to grow on me. Not a single episode is terrible. The lowest ranking I would give would be a 7 out of 10. Russell Hunter demonstrates how much of a spectacular actor he is in this series. He took this one-shot role he got in 1977 and enhanced this character to the point that he's more memorable than some companions. Russell Hunter was definitely the best actor working on that series, but that doesn't mean everyone else's performance was shit. Weeks after listening to Kaldor City, I can still remember the characters due to the actors' performances, and I can't do that with most Big Finish spin-offs. That just proves how much quality and time went into this series. An odd inclusion to the series was that the Fendel were the main baddie. It's quite a random inclusion, but damn, they worked so well in this series. You can write the Fendel two ways. You can use them as a one-shot villain, or you can write them in a story arc, making the Fendel the main thread, linking all the stories together. Alan Stevens went with the latter and created a fantastic Fendel storyline. Little hints are all throughout Kaldor City, leading up to the finale, and that just shows the Fendel were always there manipulating things. The lingering presence throughout the series makes their main concept shine. The Fendel are controlling everything. The series utilizes the Fendel to its fullest potential and creates one of the best constructed narratives I've ever heard in a Doctor Who spin-off. The ending of the series, Storm Mine, was astonishing. It seemed like it had little to no connection with the story previous, Checkmate, and that made me a little bit confused. But once I had finished it, I was even more confused. But not displeased. Let me say this, it's not a bad ending to a series. It's a really experimental ending to a series. The more I read about the conclusion, the more I loved it. The experimentality rivals some of Big Finish's experimental work. In fact, Storm Miner is the most experimental story I have ever listened to. It ends the series with no clear answer, and it's up to you how you interpret the ending. I know mine because it gives more about the Fendel, making me like the villain even more. This series was phenomenal from start to finish. When I was listening to it, I had finished it in one night. I highly recommend you go to Magic Bullet Productions right now and purchase the Kaldor City audios. The quality of the storyline is better than most Big Finish spin-offs. I've heard Series 1 of Big Finish's The Robots, and compared to Kaldor City, The Robots looks like dog shit. Kaldor City is just a masterpiece. On January 2nd, 1978, the first episode of Blake 7 appeared on British television. The show was created by Terry Nation, most notable in the Doctor Who community for being the creator of the Daleks. This series was about a group of people fighting for freedom. Now, what does this have to do with Kaldor City? Well, guess what? Kaldor City is actually a crossover. The characters in Kaldor City were from the book Corpse Marker. In the book was a one-off character in the Blake 7 episode Weapon. His name was Carnell. I don't know if he has a significant role in the book or not, but his part was rather big in Kaldor City. These aren't two different characters who just happen to have the same name. It was confirmed by the author Chris Butcher that this Carnell was the same Carnell in Blake 7. Paul Darrow played Castaniago in Kaldor City, but he was also a part of the main cast of Blake 7 and played Avon. Coincidence? No. The part of Iago was specifically written for Paul Darrow. Alan Stevens did this because he played Avon. It is also heavily implied in the episode Metafiction that Iago is actually Avon. And when I mean heavily implied, I mean heavily implied. Just look at the continuity section of Metafiction on TARDIS Wiki. There's quite a lot. Chris Butcher did what Terry Nation always wanted to do, connect Blake 7 to Doctor Who. Also, according to TARDIS Wiki, in the novelization of Evil of the Daleks, it states that the Federation, the main baddies of Blake 7, fought against the Daleks in the Great War and freed 6 planets from their rule. There's a fun fact. Kaldor City is one of the best Doctor Who spin-offs out there. And sadly, not many people know about it. If it were on the Big Finish website, I bet it would be considered one of the greatest Doctor Who spin-offs out there. I properly enjoyed this. I binge listened to it all in one night. Even though I had school the next day and I regretted it, I still had fun listening to it at the time. I really recommend this series. Everything is great. The writing, the Fendel, the characters. It's such a good spin-off. And I'm glad that I bought it when I did. Thanks for watching, if you made it this far. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. I do shit. I make videos of Doctor Who stuff. Bye-bye!